prevent the African Americans to gain economic independence through the ownership of their own land and working. It was almost made impossible. Now, during the rise of the Industrial Revolution, the Republican Party emerged, slowly gaining economic power, building alliance blocks with the Midwest farmers who opposed the slaveocracy. The large tracts of lands used for plantation, let me restate that. It was the Midwest farmers who opposed the slaveocracy because of their large use of land for the plantations, therefore limiting their ability to gain land and therefore their economic independence as well. And in direct competition with Britain, the North imposed tariffs on cheaper imported goods that the Southern slaveocracy depended upon. Also, it was the threat of the Southern independence and their use of chattel slavery as capital, and the resulting loss of 1/3 of their territory from the Northern capitalists, and the ability and the actual potential labor force that existed within the existing, through the existing labor force of the slaves already living in the South. And although the Northern capitalists weighed in on the option actually amending slavery into the Constitution, but this course blocked the potential uprising of other pro-union activity of the 40% of the people behind enemy lines. Now, Abe Lincoln, although he was good at slaying vampires, at least I would lead you to believe, Lincoln's racial prejudices actually held him against abolition. He really didn't give a damn whether or not the slaves were freed whatsoever. He just operated as a regular politician. He even considered schemes to deport slaves, believing that blacks could not live harmoniously with whites after their emancipation. And as the war dragged on, casualties mounted on both sides, they resorted to using the draft, but met with much opposition by Americans themselves. Eventually, the government changed its position and allowed blacks into the military. It is estimated that there was a total of 166 black regiments, 145 infantry, 7 cavalry, 12 heavy artillery, and 1 light artillery. And it was said that the African Americans were some of the fiercest fighters because they were fighting for their own emancipation, which makes sense. But along with the possibility of ending oppression, there came to light many other social questions with the emancipation of the African American slaves. Although they weren't included in the 15th Amendment, women made social gains in the fight for justice with the growth of feminist militant organizations. For the first time, women had served as nurses during the war, and many had traveled down south after the abolition to teach black students, children by day, adults by night. And also women challenged the previous held taboo of their participation in political gatherings as well. Besides the heightened activity of the feminist movement, the workers' movement picked up with some steam with the manifestation of citywide councils throughout the country, many represented by new unions. These new unions fought for hours and wages, seeking to reduce the 10-plus-hour workdays that they faced down to 8, as well as the possibility of establishing a workers' party. Although new laws were established for these work that limited the workdays down to 8 hours, they were very little upheld. So, in conclusion, we see that the Second American Revolution was a result of 2 opposing capitalist classes over political and territorial control. Although the southern plantations were huge swaths of lands that the African American population was seen as a cheap labor source for the industrial capitalists. And it was only after that the northern capitalists helped the emancipated blacks receive suffrage. It was only to then strip them of the rights once they gained what they wanted. And it was through racist codes that these rights were stripped, pushing back a progressive radicalization of the African Americans and workers post-Civil War, which could have possibly led to an even greater progressive society had they had not used racism as a tool to divide the workers and the African Americans. They used such terrorist tactics, such as the KKK and the army itself, almost like what you see in the oppression of the Occupy movements with the police state, or even just in general of the black population. You could go look no further than examples such as Oscar Grant, Sean Bell, and many of just the senseless murders that occur throughout the country. So mainly, my point of this whole talk is that a workers' revolution and the fight for black liberation cannot exist as two separate things. They must exist as one. Because if one tries to achieve one means without the other, the capitalist system will use any means at their disposal, such as pitting everyone against each other with tools such as racism. And it is no secret as to the violent and oppressive force that they will use against anybody fighting to change the current social justice, social economic system. Thank you.